Hey, welcome back to S&S Grills. I'm Jabin from Postal Barbecue, and today at their grill, we're making an amazing reverse seared ribeye using the Slow N Sear Kettle. Ribeye steak is big in flavor, tender and juicy, and is gonna be a hit at your next feast, so take a look. As I said, welcome back to S&S Grills. I appreciate you being here. If you haven't yet hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell, make sure to do so for more great barbecue recipes just like this one. And so today we're gonna be cooking up these amazing ribeye steaks. And when it comes to steaks, there's no better steak to go for than a classic ribeye steak. They're rich and beefy flavor, tender and delicious, and a great option for any feast. And so that's what we have here. And when you're picking out your ribeye steaks, there's a couple things to be mindful of. The first one is your marbling content, and you want to look for a steak that has a good amount of marbling, because that marbling in the steak is going to melt down, adding a ton of extra flavor to these ribeyes. The second thing you want to look for is the thickness. When I'm doing a reverse sear ribeye like I'm doing today, I always like to go between 1.5 inches to 2 inches thick, because you're going to get a better overall result, as well as because it is a little bit thicker, you're going to have a little bit more of a buffer in case you do overshoot your temperatures on your final sear. And so that's what I have here. I picked up these amazing 2-inch thick ribeye steaks that have a great marbling, and they're gonna have a lot of flavor just inside of this meat. And so today I'm gonna be seasoning these ribeye steaks with Meathead's amazing smoked red meat barbecue rub, and this rub goes really great on ribeye. It has the right blend of salts and peppers, as well as a little bit of an herbal note that really enhances the flavor of these steaks. And so to get started, what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, and I'm gonna place that onto the outside surface of our steaks. I'm just gonna brush that around. And this is gonna be a little bit of a binder for our rub to stick to. There we go. Next, I'm gonna grab my barbecue rub, and I'm gonna apply a nice coating to both sides of these steaks, making sure that it's fully coated, but also that I can still see a little bit of that steak coming through. Go, we'll flip this over. We'll do the same to the other side. All right, that looks very nice. And so, as I mentioned, this rub does have salt in it. And so we're not only using it today to season our steaks, but also utilizing the salts that's in there to dry brine these steaks. And so what's gonna happen is the salts that are in that rub are gonna absorb into the core of this steak, giving us a perfectly seasoned bite every time. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place these in the fridge covered for about 2 hours, and then I'm gonna come back and we'll get ready for our cook. So our ribeyes have been sitting in the refrigerator for 2 hours now, just resting in that barbecue rub, allowing those salts to absorb into these steaks. And you'll notice that these ribeyes have darkened up just slightly from some of those spices that are in that barbecue rub, and they look absolutely wonderful. And so with them seasoned and dry brined for a couple hours, let me show you how I set up the Slow N Sear Kettle for today's cook. For today's cook, I'm gonna be using the dripping griddle along with the Slow N Sear basket with the water reservoir in place. However, we're not gonna be using water today. Next, I placed in about 12 briquettes into the corner of the Slow N Sear basket, and I got those coals fully lit. Once those coals were fully lit, I then filled up the remainder of the Slow N Sear basket with unlit briquettes, and then I closed up the lid and adjusted my top vent about 1/3 of the way open, as well as my bottom vent fully closed with my smoke hole, again about 1/3 of the way open. All right, so with the Slow N Sear Kettle sitting around 225 degrees, let's go ahead now and get these ribeyes onto the grill opposite the coals. There we go. Next, I'm gonna take my S&S 500 digital thermometer, and I'm gonna place my probes into the center of this ribeye. About right there. And so with this cook today, I'm not gonna be adding any hardwood. So with everything on the grill, I'm gonna close up this lid, and we're gonna begin cooking this, like I said, around 225 degrees until it reaches the internal temperature of 90. And then at that point, I'm gonna come back and we'll give it a flip. It's been about 35 minutes since I first put these ribeyes into the Slow N Sear Kettle, and our internal temperature has just hit 90 degrees. And so let's open up the grill and just take a look at them. You can see that it's picking up just a little bit of color from that smoke. And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and give these a flip just to promote some even cooking. All right, there we go. So I'm gonna quickly close up this lid again, and we're gonna continue to cook this at 225 degrees until it reaches that internal temperature of around 110 to 115 degrees. Then at that point, we're gonna come back and get ready for our final sear. It's been another 20 minutes of cooking around that 225 degree mark, and the internal temperature of our ribeyes has reached around 113 degrees. And so I'm gonna go ahead and open up the grill and prepare for our final sear. Those ribeyes look absolutely fantastic already. And so to prepare for our final sear, I'm gonna slide our ribeyes back just a little bit so that I can easily open the door of our grill grate. Next, I'm gonna mix together both my lit and unlit briquettes together in the Slow N Sear basket, and then let those coals get roaring hot. So it's only been a few minutes and our coals are roaring hot, ready for our final sear. And so what I've done is I removed all of our probes from the grill so that we can do the cold grate technique, which means we're gonna be searing these steaks for about 45 to 60 seconds on each side twice. And so with our coals hot and ready to go, let's go ahead and do our final sear. And just like that, these ribeyes are fully seared and they look absolutely phenomenal. And so the last thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna go ahead and insert my S&S 100 into the ribeye just to do a temperature check. And so our ribeye is reading 127, which is the perfect temperature for me because it's gonna rest up to around 132 degrees, which is a perfect medium rare. So I'm gonna get these off the grill and then we'll get ready for the taste test. It took just over 1 hour to make these amazing ribeye steaks using that reverse sear method with the cold grate technique, and these ribeyes turned out absolutely phenomenal. The color on the outside is rich and mahogany, and the aroma is absolutely incredible. You can already pick up some of those herbal notes that's in Meathead's rubs, and it smells phenomenal. And so let's go ahead, slice it open, and see how we did. Let's go with this guy right here. We'll cut it right down the middle. Just look at that. We have a nice wall-to-wall medium rare. So let's grab another slice and go for a taste test. All right, I'm gonna grab this piece right here and we'll go for the taste test. Man, that's good. You know, there's a reason why ribeye is such a sought after cut of steak, because the flavor is rich, it's beefy, it's tender, it's juicy, it is phenomenal. And then when you add in Meathead's rub, you get that salt and the pepper as well as those herbal notes that really just put this ribeye over the top. You know, if you've never tried reverse searing a ribeye steak like this before using the cold grate technique, make sure to give it a try because it is such a great way to make a steak because you're left with amazing results every time. So that's how you make that amazing reverse seared ribeye steak using the Slow N Sear Kettle and cold grate technique. I hope you give it a try, and remember, 2 zones are better than 1.